Hey everyone, it's Davison here. I hope you're all doing okay. Thank you for tuning into this week's Q&A show with and on a Chronicles of a Gooner. Plenty to get through this week. Plenty of questions have been submitted. Thank you to those who have submitted the questions this week. It's hugely appreciated. Interestingly, probably not surprisingly, the vast majority of those questions are surrounding Unai Emery and his future at the club. So, like I said, plenty to get through this week. I will try and get through as many questions as I possibly can within the time frame that I have. So let's waste no more time. Let's dive straight in and get to the questions. The first question I'm going to focus on comes from Scottish Gooner, who asks, in your opinion, how long do you think Emery has left to try and turn things around? I honestly think he has lost the players. When that happens, surely it's game over. Well, that's a very interesting question. I'm going to focus on the first part of that question to begin with, how long Emery's got left. I honestly don't know, but you would like to think his days are numbered now because, well, I've said it many times in the last couple of weeks now that the performances have been dreadful, very underwhelming, very disappointing, unacceptable as well when you look at how we've been leading the game and we can't hold on to that lead. In terms of just the overall performance and the way the team's been set up, it's been dull, it's been uninspiring, no urgency, and I'm very concerned as an Arsenal fan at this moment in time. And you really have got to think now that if the board are not concerned as well, if they are not asking questions of the head coach behind the scenes, then something's wrong, because it's been nothing short of embarrassing and, like I said, unacceptable the last few weeks. You mentioned as well in that question about him losing the players. I think when you look at the recent results, then you could probably back that up with that statement of losing the players, because the players have looked uninspired, they've looked confused, as if they're lacking ideas at times as well, as if they don't know what to do. And yeah, you could obviously back that up with Emery losing the players, losing the dressing room. Obviously, there's been lots of rumours about the players asking questions of Unai Emery if they don't know entirely what they need to do, don't know entirely what Unai expects from them. So yeah, it's if he's losing the dressing room, if he has lost the dressing room, only the players themselves and of course the manager or head coach, the board will know that, then it is game over. You cannot have a dressing room which is not going to be playing for the head coach, for the person in charge. It's not healthy for the football club, and you won't get results. It's as simple as that. So I think the board ultimately can go down two different routes here. They can be possibly talking about making change behind the scenes as we speak. Maybe after the Leicester game at the weekend, if we do get a defeat, then we could see action taken after that. Or, and I see this as a more realistic option, the board will wait until the end of the season. And I think, it's a much easier time to ultimately make a decision at the end of the season as well. And there's many factors, I think, for that. Those factors are, the board will obviously know where we are as a team. They'll know how the performances have sort of developed as the season's gone on. Has there been improvements? Did things get worse as the season went on? Obviously, they'll know our league position, how we've finished in the table, how we've done in the Europa League. Was it good enough? And they'll also have a better idea of where the players stand as well, and just what the overall feeling is at the club. And obviously, it makes it easier for the board to make the right decision, because they have evidence that there needs to be change or there doesn't need to be change. And of course, if they were to make a decision halfway through the season, then they'll still be asking themselves, have we done the right thing? Did we rush in making a decision? Have we made a mistake in letting them go? So obviously they can go down either of those routes. As a fan, myself, and obviously knowing what the majority of the Arsenal fan base want, which is change now, then of course that does mount pressure on the board to take action. It mounts pressure on Unai Emery himself as well. I just think realistically the board, unless things really did keep going downhill and there was I don't know, the players were having massive fallouts with the coach and they weren't playing for the club, they weren't playing for the head coach. If we kept getting really, really underwhelming and unacceptable results, then I can see action being taken this season. But I think if things carry on as they are now, maybe things might improve a little bit, a few wins here and there. And of course, the fact that we're doing quite well in the Europa League as well. I just feel at this moment in time, obviously, like I said, things might change. But at this moment in time, I think the board making a decision at the end of the season, once they know where we're at as a club, I just think that seems more realistic. The next question comes from Andrew Powell, who asks, who should take over as coach if or when Emery gets the boot? He also adds at the end of the question, Allegri or Arteta? Well, certainly, Andrew, I think the two names you've mentioned there, Allegri, first of all, obviously the more experienced manager, more successful manager who's won silverware, worked with top talent in the past, learning English for several months now, I also think as well. Absolutely, and I've mentioned his name before. He was actually my number one choice before Emery took over from Wenger. And also, of course, with Mikel, former player in the Premier League, former Arsenal player, who will have a lot of experience, not only from his playing days, but of course from his coaching days now at Manchester City, working alongside some top players and most importantly, working alongside one of the best football managers in world football, Pep Guardiola. So I think both of those names would be very, very decent appointments. I think with Arteta, you're getting a coach where you're getting a person where it makes things more intriguing, more interesting to see how he does. I think there'll be a sense of excitement around that. But certainly with Allegri, it's a safer option, less of a risk, if you like to say, because he's obviously been a manager for many years now, and he's been very successful as well. Just to throw other names into the mix, the likes of Freddie Ljungberg potentially as well, who's of course had a really positive impact on this Arsenal squad since he's been promoted at the start of the season. Potentially more unrealistically because he's recently moved to his new club, Inter Milan, but someone like Conte, who I think is a really, really good manager as well, obviously successful in England with Chelsea, his last season in charge, obviously didn't go to plan, but certainly know what he's capable of. And potentially someone like Ten Hag as well, Ajax coach. Must admit, I've not seen lots of his work, but I've seen obviously some of the results they've been getting, some of the performances they've been putting in. He's got the team playing really, really good football. So yeah, just some of those names I would like to think would be high up on our shortlist as well. If like you said, if or when Emery does get the boot, absolutely. But for me, I think someone like Allegri, he was, like I said, my number one choice when Wenger left. So I'd like to think someone like that was to come in. I think obviously other names, including Henry, Patrick Vieira, I just don't think they're ready yet to take on the managerial role at Arsenal Football Club. I just don't think they're quite ready. So the next question comes from Chris, and he's asked, are the board just being professional regarding Emery? If not, then what does need to happen for them to finally pull the trigger? Season to become beyond saving? Well, I think, Chris, first and foremost, as I sort of mentioned on earlier in the show, the board will want to be giving Unai Emery as much time as they possibly can here at the club. They'll still be hoping that he can turn things around, of course, and they will be being professional towards Unai Emery for as long as he's at the club. However, what needs to happen for them to finally pull the trigger? I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know if a lot more needs to happen for them to finally pull the trigger, because, look, if the results keep going the way they have been, they're very disappointing, unacceptable. If the points keep being dropped when they shouldn't be, if the players continue the way they are, looking all over the place, looking as if they're lacking ideas, and of course, if the fans keep expressing their anger, it will mount pressure not only on Unai Emery but on the board to make a decision more quickly. So I don't think a lot more needs to happen for the board to make a decision. However, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, if we might pick up a few more points on the road later on in the season, we do well in the Europa League, everyone's pretty content, then the board might not make any decision until the end of the season, like I mentioned earlier. So again, I don't know what needs to happen for them to finally pull the trigger, because things are quite bad enough as they are at the minute, as it is at the minute. So again, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Next question comes from Gordon, and he's asked, have we missed our opportunity to bring in a big name now that the Bayern job has opened up? Can't see any manager pick us over Bayern. No, I don't think we've missed an opportunity, Gordon, to be honest. I think, look, there's only going to be one person that takes that job at Bayern Munich, and that will leave dozens of other names available for us. So I don't think we've missed an opportunity to bring in a big name. There's still going to be plenty of names to go out there and try and get if and when that time comes. So no, I'm not too concerned. I'm not too concerned with that. So going to come to my last question now, guys, as I am running out of time, and it comes from Lee Adams, who asks, do you agree that if we don't make the top four because Raiola and the board kept Emery on, it comes to their fault rather than Emery's? And I think that's quite a good question, actually. Look, it's a tough one. If we don't make the top four because we kept Emery on, then there will be shared responsibility there, of course. I think if the board did consider making a change earlier on in the season, then they'll obviously be kicking themselves a little bit and probably wishing that they had made a change. And of course, Emery will hold the main responsibility as well, because top four is a must this season. I think that we're more than capable with the squad we've got to get into the top four. However, obviously, at this time of speaking and recording this video, we couldn't look more off getting a top four place. We don't really deserve it, to be honest with you. So, of course, there would be shared responsibility there. I don't think it will be purely on the board. I think it will be a shared responsibility because, of course, Unai Emery is the head coach after all, and it's his job to get us back to where we belong. And at the moment, we're not getting top four anyway. So, yeah, there'll be shared responsibility there. I think it's. I don't think it would be purely on the board, solely on the board. But look, with the way things are going, if there is an opportunity to make change sooner rather than later, you'd think it would be the wiser option, wouldn't you? So we'll have to wait and see. And I've been saying we'll have to wait and see a lot in this video, but we really will, because anything's possible with Arsenal, and I think it does depend on possibly the weekend, the game at Leicester, and how things go after that. We'll have to wait and see whether or not the board think the right time to make change during the international break. So folks, that brings us to the end of this week's show. A big thank you to those who submitted their questions into us, and apologies to those whose questions I couldn't quite get to in the end. As you can imagine, it's quite difficult when we have plenty come in, but please be sure to get yourselves involved with future shows, and I'll do my very best to get those questions featured in the video for you next time. If you're watching this on YouTube, please leave a thumbs up, please subscribe to Chronicles of a Gooner, and I will catch you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. Take care.